to make sure.
Share it, it's okay, we're not on the radio, we can take our time for a moment.
Are we live?
Yeah. Well, it says that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine's not saying it. Is yours saying it?
No, neither is our crossing on page.
No,
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's just a delay.
Let's see. It says no. See, I can't. Okay, it's just doing it from the crossing out page. I can't change mine.
Just share it.
Yeah, I'll share it. You don't share it twice on my own. Share it.
Okay.
And you share it in yours.
That's what I just did.
Okay. All right, it's up there.
All right.
Hey, everybody, sorry, we were trying to, there's something with Facebook when we do this where it doesn't, it like locks down our personal pages. I don't know why it does that, but anyway, we figured that out, and we are live on Facebook and YouTube if you want to check it out. We decided to do what you call it, an emergency podcast, and I'm stealing that from other podcasters. When there's like breaking news, they'll call it an emergency podcast. And as y'all know, we had a pretty eventful last 4 to 5 days.
Yes, we did.
I mean,
all
the country
has,
and us personally too. We have.
I mean, of all the times to go to the White House, be invited to the White House, it's going to be like when all the breaking news, all the craziness happens within our country. Yeah,
it was pretty wild time, and I guess we'll just. What do you want to do? Start from the beginning, like what we were doing, and then we'll kind of go into all the stuff, or.
Well, I mean, first of all, see, Shaun makes the graphics that go on our Facebook pages, right. And so he forgets sometimes that this is called crossing the aisle. So he also has to include things that are important to me as well.
Yeah.
And first of all, let's just let it be known that the Karen Reed trial ended.
Explain to everybody what that is, because there are people like me
who
have no idea what it is.
You do know what it is.
I know because you told me what it is.
But I think most of America knows what it is. And closing arguments were Friday. And were they Friday? Yeah, Friday morning. Because we were listening on the way to the White House. Closing arguments were Friday, and the jury, they finished up with jury instructions early Friday afternoon, and the jury is now in deliberation. This is the case in Massachusetts where this woman is being accused of hitting her boyfriend with her Lexus and leaving him there to die in the cold, and no one knows how long it takes to die in the cold, but she is being set up, obviously. And Shaun may disagree with me, but
yeah, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. It's an interesting case, though. If you guys follow, there's an HBO documentary called, was it Body in the Snow? I think.
Body in the Snow.
And it really is fascinating. I obviously have less time than Lindsey does to watch this all day. So
this is work for me.
Yeah,
I'm learning. I mean, I know I work for a law firm, so I'm learning.
Mine. So this is what she does on the company time. I'm working. So I do. It is really interesting. I'm kidding with her, but I just don't have the. I've seen so many trials personally in my life, and part of so many that sometimes it's like my leisure time. I'm not like to watch a trial, I'll watch a Nazi gas chamber documentary or something.
See, it's so weird like that. But once we do get a verdict, we're going to kick Shaun off the show one day, and I'm going to have a very special guest on with me who has been following this as closely, maybe even closer, than I have, and who has some very insightful information. Considering what she does in her line of work, and I think that it's going to be very, very interesting to hear from her and her perspective on what this, because we've been a group text, and I think we've been annoying the heck out of Shaun.
Yeah,
we just constantly talk about what's happening in the trial. He's like, I'm trying to work.
Idea. I'm not watching the trial. I'm doing stuff, and that's another reason why I wanted to. Well, there was so much news that came out over the last few days that we wanted to talk about. I'm not going to be there tomorrow because I've got court up in North Mississippi, so Lindsey will have a special guest. Starla Munn is coming in, right?
Yeah, Starla, who is the Mississippi Director of Americans for Prosperity and also a sponsor of our show. So we love her, and we love her stance on a lot of issues, and so I'm super excited to have her with us tomorrow. And then we also want to get this out of the way so I can be done. We did crown our new Miss Mississippi last night, Miss Capital City.
What does that mean? Like, is that like
the central Mississippi area? Okay. And so she's
leave this segment up to you.
She is actually from Rankin County, I believe. Her name is Anna Lee Jolly, and she is our new Miss Mississippi 2025. So congratulations.
Miss Jolly.
Yes, absolutely.
I bet she's jolly.
I bet she is. I would be very jolly this morning if I was the new Miss Mississippi.
So,
of course,
well,
Shaun likes to throw it in my face that I never was.
But you're in the competition. That's all that counts. You got to participation program.
I got scholarship money that paid for my entire college education.
There
so
you
there's
go.
that.
So that's good. See, congratulations. So okay. Well, anyway, so all that stuff we got Karen Reed and Miss Mississippi out of the way. Now we get into stuff everybody's here to really listen to.
See what I mean? Ridiculous.
So, well, first we'll start. We were going. Lindsey, got an invite to the White House, and I got to be the +1 this past Friday. So we flew there Thursday night. And while we were flying there, of course, World War III decided to happen, so it kind of messed up our Friday plans. When we got to DC, they were reorganizing the whole town anyway for the Trump Army military parade thing that went on Saturday.
Yes, they were.
So we had to be at the White House at like 10 in the morning on Friday, and it was hot it was like Mississippi kind of hot. It was so hot, and I'm wearing a suit, she's wearing a dress and heels, and the roads are blocked off, so we got to walk there. We took an Uber a little ways, and then we had to walk there. And then
we walked the wrong
Lindsey
way.
doesn't really wear heels. I know you think, oh, pageant girl wearing. She doesn't ever wear heels.
But I have all my life, and I've never had it. Y'all, this is so embarrassing.
So she goes.
I've never had any problems.
She walks. We had to walk quite a bit, and
I mean, at least like what, maybe 2 miles.
Yeah, something like that.
In the heat.
And we get there, and she's just looking at me, and like she just starts almost crying. I'm like, "What's going on? Are you just so excited to meet Trump, or are you just tears of joy?"
I've already met Trump.
And she's like, "No, my feet are killing me." And so we go through there's 3 layers of security to get into the complex, not even the building. And we're doing that. And we're walking in front of the White House, and she's like, I'm holding her up, and this Secret Service agent walks by us, and he says, "Ma'am, do you need a wheelchair?" And I just bust out laughing. I was like, "This is so funny." The Secret Service just asked if you needed a wheelchair.
Shaun, I figured out what happened. I saw some people at the protest over the weekend.
Yeah.
The No Kings protest, and they had some Trump voodoo dolls that they stick the pins in. I have decided there must have been some pro-trans organization that had voodoo dolls of Moms for Liberty members, and they must have ruined my feet somehow. Maybe so.
You never know. I mean, and I'll skip forward. We'll get to the White House stuff. But so part of Lindsey's foot problems. So they were just covered in these huge, gigantic blisters, and so she's in the middle of the White House, and I'm like, "Well, just take off your shoes," and then she does, and of course I take off because she's going too slow, and there's her group of people, and then she's like, she finds me finally. She's like, "They made me put my shoes back on." I'm like, maybe they thought you had a shoe bomb or something. They're just getting kind of worried or whatever. And so then we had to we were flying out that Friday night, and our flight got canceled because of weather in Atlanta, and we could fly out again until Saturday morning. But anyway, so Lindsey's walking through the airport after we get off we had to deplane after being on the plane for like 2 hours, and Lindsey can't walk. She just starts crying, and then
And I am not a wuss either when it comes to pain. I drove myself to the hospital in labor with my 5th child, was 8 centimeters dilated when I got there. I mean, I have broken my leg, snapped it in half by stepping over a doggy gate the wrong way, and laughed about it because that happened. And I'm not a wuss when it comes to pain. I could not walk. I could not.
And so one of the airport staff said, "Ma'am, sit down. I'm getting you a wheelchair." So they got a wheelchair for her, and this Mexican dude comes up with it, and he's like pushing her through the Baltimore airport. And we had to go to Baltimore to fly out. We flew into Reagan, and I'm just like the whole time I'm videoing this, but she has no idea I'm videoing it. Because video of her getting pushed through the airport in this wheelchair.
And when we were getting in an Uber, and when we got there, I turned around and I looked at him. I said, "You didn't take a picture of that, did you?" And he just starts laughing. He's like, "Of course I didn't." Right. And then he pulls out his phone, and then he starts sharing it.
It's a video. I haven't posted it yet, but it's pretty funny. But anyway, so that was our adventure there. But so we did. So we had to tour the White House with Lindsey's group from Moms for Liberty, and
who he loves. He likes to act like he doesn't.
Well, some of them. I mean, there was a couple.
No. That's Shaun. That's not true. That is not true.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, she's gonna get mad because somebody watches this. I said that.
Because that be nice. You literally said to me.
They were all nice. It's a joke. We had to really appreciate them inviting us. So that was really nice. But so we go in there though.
She loves to pick at me, I swear.
Unfortunately, though, we did not get to meet the president, even though that was on his agenda. But Israel got a different idea and decided to attack Iran. So he course, he was obviously
He was
preoccupied
very,
with more
very
important things
busy.
to be done. So fortunately, we got to meet Sebastian Gorka, which is one of his senior advisors. So that was interesting.
Yes, and he was actually there waiting for us to come in the door.
Yep.
And he and his precious wife, Katie, who has, y'all need to check her out. She's written an amazing book recently. And yeah, they're very, very nice of them to take time out of their schedule, because with him being one of Trump's senior advisors, I'm sure he was incredibly busy that day.
That was pretty cool that he did that. So the coolest thing in the White House to me, or the funniest thing, was this. So at the end of the tour, you go to the entrance, where the main entrance of the White House, and there's this portrait of the infamous Trump fight thing when he's bleeding, he has fists in the air. And across the hallway, so here's this portrait, and then right across from it, facing each other, is a portrait of Barack Obama. And I thought that Trump must have done that to be like, look, I'm a badass, and then made Obama look at it for eternity. Like that's what it seemed like to me. Like it was a total joke for him to do that to him. That's the impression I got. I thought it was funny.
Well, we got to see the famous photo of Ronald Reagan that's hanging there, and it was just really surreal to be there. I wish I had not been in as much pain as I was in at the time and could have really taken it in more. But it was surreal to be. And you can't just like schedule a White House tour. It doesn't work that way. You actually have to be invited, or you have to schedule one through your member of Congress, and it has to be done like 90 days to 6 months in advance. And so to even be invited is such an honor.
Yeah, it was a really incredible, really cool thing. Apparently, it takes months and months if you just go through your and who's going to do that? Who's going to call their congressman? I'm not doing that.
No. So Moms for Liberty had reached out to the president about Pride Month, because we are celebrating June as
it's raining.
We'll have to tell our Southwest story. And so anyway, we wanted to celebrate June as Parental Rights Month, because obviously those are the issues that we care deeply about. And so we had reached out to President Trump to declare June Parental Rights Month. And he said, let me think about it. He took a few days and he reached back out. He said, I'm not going to declare June any kind of month, but I stand with you guys, and I want to invite 40 of you and the people that they want to bring to the White House.
Trump was like, there's some gay dudes that like me. I don't want to.
No,
piss them off.
That's not what it was. It was it was also that the Mississippi Department of not the Mississippi, the United States Department of Education declared it not Parental Rights Month, but Women in or something about sports, Title IX month.
And we got so many months. I don't even keep track. It was like a list. I'll know.
Well, it's not necessarily Pride Month anymore. It's been declared a lot of different things by different organizations.
Does everybody just get to call it whatever month they want from now on? Like everybody gets to pick a month and just it's like whatever it's this month, but you can just say whatever. Like okay, this month is Asian History Month or whatever, or Shih Tzu. I got my Shih Tzu over there. Shih Tzu history. Like it just seems like I don't know. It gets a little. It's kind of like Kenneth Stokes. He like renames everything. That's what we're doing these days with these months and days. Like you gotta come up with a new name.
Well, I mean, why is there not a heterosexual month?
I mean, I don't know.
Straight month.
How do we just have none of these months? Just get rid of the months. Like I don't know. If we're gonna keep I'm not talking about Pride Month. I'm just talking about any month. If we're gonna keep changing like the names of holidays and changing months, I mean, what's the point? I don't know. It's just like we're renaming everything in Jackson all the time. It's annoying. Anything?
We usually fly Delta, but we had to fly Southwest.
You want to change the subject?
No, I'm not changing the subject.
Yeah.
We had to fly Southwest, and I was so disgusted by even walking the runway to the airplane, where you get on the airplane, there's nothing but Pride Month stickers on both sides of the wall all the way down. Look, I can handle the L and the G, and maybe even the B, but when you throw the rest of the letters in, I ain't supporting you. Sorry.
So the whole time I'm just singing "It's Raining Men" the entire time.
He just likes to annoy me. He loves to annoy me. And do not let him fool you. He wanted to meet President Trump so badly.
I did. I was pissed that we didn't.
He was like, he wanted to do the thumbs up. He wanted the picture.
I thought it would look ridiculous. That was really funny. I wanted to do it.
And also, the whole way to the airport, he's telling me how he is so against this parade, and this is Then he loved it. He watched it.
I watched the parade.
I
loved it. The Marines. I watched it. I was like, yeah, this is really cool. And the music was awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
But I was like, why would anybody be against that? We're just celebrating the history of the Army, and
I think it was there was I would say the left at least would portray it as like, that's what they do in countries with dictators. They have
Biden planned it. This was planned.
Well, he planned the celebration, but not the actual parade, as far as I know. But neither here nor there. It was awesome. I'm just gonna say it was awesome. Like, that's it. It was cool. I mean, if you watched it, it was. I mean, I'm not sitting here watching the whole. I mean, I watched a lot of it because it was good, and I like military history. So I mean,
I didn't. My feet were hurting too bad, and I was exhausted.
So I liked it. But anyway, to each their own. I'm not going to say something's not cool if I think it's cool just because, like, I'm supposed to say I don't like it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. But well, before we get into all that, we're skipping ahead. I mean, there are a lot of things, and we're probably going to save World War III for last. But there was obviously a shooting in Minnesota that everybody knows about now, where two legislators, or one was killed, which was Melissa Hortman, I believe her name. She was the former Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives, and a Senator John Hoffman, who survived the attack. There were two separate residents. I'm sure most people know the story by now, and attacks on both their spouses as well. So 4 people got shot. Ms. Hortman and her husband were killed, and Mr. Hoffman and his wife lived. I just saw a post from his wife saying, "We're out of surgery, we're doing well." So that was really great to see that. And they're both Democratic legislators out of Minnesota. And so they were shot by a guy named Vance Butler, who's got an interesting background. And which has been, and I guess I'll get to that, obviously, which is really the whole crux of this. The first thing that we do in our politics, and everybody's guilty of this, and I don't care, you're lying if you say not. Like, I've been guilty of it before. Everybody wants to, guys, it's going to be the other side. It's got to be the other side. Like, let's look for the transgender shooter or the Timothy far right guy or whatever.
Because it usually is a transgender.
But I'm saying that's what immediately like somehow justifies the murder and makes you feel better about it. Like, that's what everybody does that, and they fight to death and they dismiss information. It doesn't matter. They're just dug in. The left did this during the whole Trump assassination with that Crooks guy. They're like, well, he registered as a Republican. He was like 19. Like, what did he know? Then he donated to Act Blue. I mean, I just thought it was, they were like, oh, no, he must have been a Republican.
There are some people.
He wasn't.
There are some people who are just sociopaths.
Yeah, they're just crazy people. I mean, it's not limited to your political opinions. There's a lot of crazy people out there. And this guy's one of them. Mr. Butler apparently he's got a security company of some sort, and he has an evangelical ministry that he goes to Africa and does these sermons, which are all over Twitter. You can look at them. Some of them are pretty hilarious, like Jimmy Swaggart on crack. But the implication was dropped online yesterday that he was like a left-wing radical, and it was because he killed them, Hortman and Hoffman, because they voted to end healthcare for illegal immigrants. So when I first saw that, I thought, okay, maybe they did vote to do that. I didn't realize until this morning that was actually untrue. So Hoffman voted to end it, the former Speaker of the House, but Hoffman voted against that. So that premise was completely wrong anyway. So one of them voted to end it, the other voted against it.
And she actually didn't want to cast that vote.
Yeah, it's in Politico today if you want to look it up, the story. They dropped it this morning, outlined all this.
She did that because she wanted to pass a budget. And I've said for the longest time, these big omnibus bills where everything is voted on together should be done away with. Why can't we vote on separate issues separately? But that's just not the way things work. If you know anything about government, a lot of times things are lumped in together, and that was the situation here.
Yeah. So they were making the implication that he must have even a far left radical and must have killed them because they both voted down illegal immigrant health care or Medicaid. Right?
Well, initially they also said or let the media know that they had found brochures or
there was about the No Kings, right?
Yeah, advertising the No Kings protest, and so that kind of made it look as though he might be someone who would be attending those events.
Yeah, and then with the information that came out later, they interviewed his roommate, who happened to be his best friend since 4th grade, who said that he was a really anti-abortion guy. He's a conservative guy, evangelical, and all that kind of stuff. And then the videos online are him preaching against gays, transgenders. He's preaching against that, against abortion. Very what you would consider I guess right-wing, not propaganda. I mean, beliefs. It's fine. I don't have anything against that.
I believe all those things.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to word it right.
Right.
But if you believe that, that's fine.
I believe all those things, but I'm definitely not going to go run and shoot someone who does it both the way that I want them to.
No, absolutely not. But the implication that he was somehow a left radical. I mean, I've never seen the leftists talk about how much they were against abortion and gays.
But he did this in a way. that he dressed up as a police officer.
Which, because he owned a security company, he got a lot of gear, apparently.
And I guess had a bulletproof vest on, and he drove a vehicle very similar to what they would drive. And he goes in the middle of the night. Now, I mean, who is going to see a police vehicle and someone with a badge and a gun and a vest and who very much looks like a police officer and not think, you know, I know I've gotten a knock on the door from a police officer in the middle of the night to tell me someone was dead. So that's what you automatically think, like, okay, what's happened? One of my loved ones, something's happened to one of my loved ones, and this person is here to tell me about it, and you're panicked and you open the door.
Yeah, no, I mean, sure. I did leave out. So part of that initial conspiracy was that he was appointed by Governor Walz in 2019 and Governor Duncan, both Democrats, to a workforce advisory board, which was a nonpartisan board. So it wasn't like he didn't work for them. He just was appointed to a nonpartisan board. I mean, you know, everybody can look this up for themselves and make it what they will. But if you look at the videos, it's pretty obviously, I don't know what, you know, who he votes for or any of that kind of stuff. And there's implications to be made about that. But I think he's anything from a far left radical.
I think we have to be so very careful when incidents like this happen to take the first thing that we hear, even if it comes from the media, and run with it. Because there's so much false information that we get initially during tragedies like this. And you just got to be careful what you spread and run with.
And everybody wants it to, I mean, look, I've fallen into that trap. I ain't gonna lie. I'm like, God, man, I hope that guy's a right-wing extremist. Like, we just naturally do that stupid shit. I mean, it's dumb.
Well, the first thing I said, we were walking through the airport and he told me that this happened. And I was like, well, it's got to be a Democrat. I mean, that was my first initial response.
They look at any facts and then they come up with these ridiculous, you know, theories like, oh, I mean, that turned out like, even like in this one where the premise of it is even wrong. Like, both of them didn't vote that way. Only one of them did it. So why would you want to kill the other dude? What would be the motive there? There's none. And if you look at his manifesto, which they have not released yet, that's true. But according to the police, what they've said is it had Tim Walz was on it, Ilhan Omar.
I mean, I don't know that I could
right, no, you can say. Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar.
I'm just kidding. I'm sure we're already on a watch list somewhere. I'm kidding. I did not mean that.
Keith Ellison, the guy that prosecuted George Floyd, abortion providers, abortion clinics, pro-choice advocates. I mean, it was a laundry list of the left's finest, pretty much. I mean, so it didn't make any sense. And you know, I understand it's going to, you know, some people are not going to work away from that. But I mean, you can do your own research and look at it. And so, I mean, I'm going to just watch those videos and, you know, it's kind of obvious. I don't know that, like I said, I don't know any guy that's on it's a far left dude, or at least he's going to get kicked out when he talks about being anti-abortion and anti-gay. Like, I mean, I just don't know if that's really a far left position or anyone that can seriously say that. Well, the funny part about it too is Elon Musk like took this seriously also, which we've seen the way he's behaved lately, obviously. And he wrote, you know, I think it was something here that he said the left is murderously violent or something. And the funny thing about that, Lindsay, was Grok, his AI system, corrected him. And it's hilarious. It's like, it says the Grok said the claim that the left is murderously violent isn't backed by evidence. He said there's a lot of violence on both sides, including January 6th for the right and George Floyd for the left. That's what Grok told him. He said political violence spans all sides. So it's kind of like he got owned by his own AI. Yeah.
I just think there is no room for political violence anywhere in America. There shouldn't be. It should not be tolerated by anyone on either side.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and it happens. It's always gonna, you know, as much as you want to sit there and be like, oh God, I've seen, look, I tell Lindsay's all the time. I look at my Facebook thread or Twitter or whatever, and you can see the people that are on the left that are like what I call like blue anon, you know, and then there's the far right people, and it's all the same stuff they're posting, just like different, you know, blaming each other. And it's just like, God bless folks. I mean, you know, like you have to just accept sometimes that your side, or what you want to call it, fucks up. I mean, it just does. People are crazy. Trust me, I've prosecuted enough of them. And I mean, you know, if you keep searching to like, I'm gonna make sure like if that dude's on the left, so I mean, it's not me. It doesn't reflect on me. Like, you know, occasionally a dude on the right is going to do something bad, and occasionally a dude on the left is going to do something bad. The guy that shot the baseball game 8 years ago was a Bernie Sanders supporter, the congressional baseball game. I mean, you know, this happens. Like, people with varying political opinions can be effing crazy, and that's just.
I just hope this doesn't give anyone else any sort of ideas, because, I mean, as you know, I have a lot of people in the Mississippi legislature that I care deeply about. But, you know, I just hope that this doesn't cause other states to see some sort of copycat happen.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading something in Axios that talked about how Republicans and Democrats in the U.S. Congress are very nervous right now.
I mean, I would be.
And this is before the Minnesota event, and of course now it's just exacerbated that.
I mean, if I was state legislator, I'm nervous right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what. Yeah, Clay and I were in a group chat with Fred Shanks, and we're like, "Hey, buddy, the squad truck guys are coming for you.
Coming for you.
Watch out, man. Bar your doors." But I mean, that's what we're doing. That's what I don't see it getting any better. I mean,
and then not to be able to open your door for a cop or what you feel like is a cop.
Yeah,
it's just very scary. It's a very scary time we're living in.
Well, like I said, we've created all these. There's all this fake information out there, whether it's coming from the right or left. It comes from both all the time.
Yeah,
and it's just not stopping. I mean, and this is just this is a lot of.
And the media exacerbates it.
Yeah, they help out. They help out with it too, and they spin their own stuff. I mean, we were talking about on the show several weeks ago about the Capitol Police case.
Yeah.
And NBC's article styles it as Mississippi officers
young
charged
father
with killing young father. Well, the young father was an effing dope dealer that had an AK-47 and 2 guns in the car and had tried to run over the police.
And pulled a gun on them as well.
Well, they didn't say that in the
article.
In the article, like in the headline, the headline was Mississippi officers, shoot young fathers. So you got people reading that like, oh my God, there was these racist cops in Mississippi that are shooting young fathers.
But then
that's not what happened.
Then they released another article talking about how long he had to stay in jail before he got a fair trial or initial appeal.
Well, that was the other guy, yeah.
But still, so what?
Right, that was the other NBC article about that. But same, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were crafting a narrative that they wanted. See, that's an example there of the left doing it.
White Mississippi cops kill young black father. More division. Let's cause more division here. Yeah. Clickbait.
Complete bullshit. Like, it was a complete bullshit article on NBC's part. And that's my point where, like, this is not party exclusive. Like, this is people on both sides that have narratives that they want. And, you got to kind of do your own research and try to shift through the bullshit. And I'm just, that's why I call it out when I see, I don't care if the left does it or right does it. I'm just going to say it because it's crap and it's like destroying our society. Yeah. It's really, really stupid. But I mean, until people just stand up and say, hey, I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to look this up, make sure that I'm not being fed my algorithm on whatever side you're on, then it's going to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think, feeding into that are also these protests yesterday. Yep. And while, I got to say, for the most part, they were nonviolent and they were well organized and they were peaceful. But I completely disagree with having Trump dolls that you're pushing as voodoo dolls that you're pushing pins into, or having a booth where you can hit our president or holding him up his head as if it was, let's behead our president, or the 8647, that stuff should not be appropriate. This man is the president of the United States. He was voted in by the people. It should be unacceptable to be in public and behave that way. Yeah. And I would say that if there was a Democrat president right now as well, I would say the same thing.
Well, I think also the premise of these protests are interesting to me. And again, I think this is where I'm going to attack the left, and they hate when I do this too.
Attack away.
Well, I mean, Trump, look, this all boils down, this is based on immigration, okay? And whether you agree with what he's doing, he's not breaking the law. Now, I mean, there was a Brago Garcia thing, which that's just another matter entirely, where, like, I guess they didn't follow the court order and there's some, scuffle there, the guy's back, whatever. But other than that, like, I mean, it's still lawful to deport people that are here illegally, whether they're working at Home Depot. And I'm not going into my feelings about that in a second, but
and he very much
breaking the law.
He very much campaigned on this. He very much campaigned on, said he was going to do this.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of where the premise of that, where I lie, like, he's not breaking the law doing that. Now, do I agree with it? No. I mean, do I agree with, like, deporting criminals? Yes. Do I agree with deporting the people at Home Depot? Absolutely not. I mean, but that's just a humanity question, not a legality question. So, like, that's where I guess my point is this: when you're saying no kings, you're not. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I think what you need to say is like no humanity, or like have compassion, or whatever you want to call it. It's a different issue because he's not violating the law by doing that. I mean, and I'm just a pretty stickler, I am about the process, whatever it be.
But say that to a mother who lost her child by an illegal immigrant. Say that to
I'll
that
gladly
person.
say that.
Because they're going to say, "Where's the humanity here?"
Well, Lindsay, apparently the president now agrees with my position because he completely reversed course Friday night by issuing an order stopping all of those raids on farms and hotels in the service industry.
I think he realized there might not be anyone to do those jobs if we deport them all. And you and I have had this conversation at length, I mean, to nauseum. I think we both agree, maybe if there are people who came here illegally, but they are working, they're providing for their families, they came here for the right reason, they're paying taxes, they are not criminals. Let's put them in some sort of program where we completely background check them. We make sure they are who they say they are. We make sure their background is clean, and let's find a way for them to become legal.
Well, I don't think they've implemented, I mean, I agree with that actually, but I don't think that's what he's doing yet. Maybe that's something that Congress will work out eventually, which they need to. I mean, we need to reform that. But I think now he's basically, it kind of seems like don't ask, don't tell. From the 90s, that's kind of what I think of it now, what the new order is.
But if your first act in this country is one that's illegal, there's a problem.
Well, yeah, that's fine, Danny, but we are where we are. And the thing is, the reason that spurred this, and I don't know if everybody's read about it yet, I'm sure some people have. So the farmers went to the agricultural secretary and said, look, we've got a serious problem here. We've got people, now they're not showing up to work, and nearly 50% of U.S. farm labor are undocumented immigrants, nearly 50%. And they pay them like $20,000 a year, is what I read yesterday. And they
How do you even live on that?
Well, no, they can't find any Americans, obviously, for that amount of money to do the job. So she went to the president and said, look, we're going to have a serious problem here because it's going to shut down agriculture if we do this. And it's not even just like they're just not coming to work because they're like, I'm scared I'm going to get deported. And so he was like, yeah, this is a problem. That's why his statement Friday was, so we have people been working here for 20 years. They're good people. They're great. You said they're great people, and we're going to fix it. And by the way, people were saying, I bet that's just rhetoric on the left. They were saying that, and it's not. He actually did it. He sent an order out saying, we are stopping the raids on farms, on hotels, and some other service industries, not the garment. I think that's one he left out. But so he put a stop to it already. Now that may change. I mean, he may change position on that, but that's what the position is now. So that has, that position has ended about just because you came here illegally to work and we're going to deport all you. Yeah. So that's, and I know there's a lot of people on the right that they're not for that. They think we should deport everybody. And that's a fine position to have. That's the way you feel. It's not a legal one. It's a legal method. I mean, it's just a difference in opinion and, what that was going to cause.
We talk all the time about the pendulum swinging so far right and so far left. And this is what happens when you have an administration like we had under Biden, who had the border wide open and caused so many issues. And so when the next administration comes in, they want to stop it and fix it. And this was his way, I guess, of doing that. And I think maybe he's realizing he can't be as aggressive.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened.
But I do think everyone who's here illegally should be completely and totally vetted and background checked if they're allowed to stay. Well,
I think, Congress needs to come up with a way to do that. I agree with that. I don't disagree. I think they do, but I think they're going to have to come up with a way to do how that process is going to work. I'm guessing, though, just having been alive almost 46 years, is they're going to do nothing. And they're just going to do what we've always done and just say, hey, look, just don't tell anybody. That's kind of the system that we've always had. I feel like
you're so old. You're so old. Shaun, did you know that you and President Trump have a birthday 1 week apart?
Yes, that's right. Our birthday's on Saturday, right? So So I think that's probably what we'll end up doing. It's just kind of like I said, don't ask, don't tell. Like that's kind of like what's going to happen here. That's just my prediction.
So just lay low.
I just don't see them reforming anything. I think Congress is always such an impasse to do anything. But that's just not going to be something that happens. But I think we're going back to. We're going back to let the borders closed. Trump's done a good job at that, and they're deporting criminals, and they're just going to say, hey, look, if you're working, you can stay, just don't tell anybody. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. That's kind of the impression I got from what he was saying Friday. At least don't cause any problems. Yeah, everybody just stop. We just want the farms to work. We want the hotels to work. So.
Well, we said this, when we were gone. Every person that drove us in an Uber, many people that we saw in the restaurant industry were places that we went.
Yep.
We saw, I mean, they were obviously immigrants.
Yeah, I mean, this country has been built by immigrants, and that's just, that's just part of it. And I mean, it's part of the American story. And, yeah, you saw it very clearly. Like everybody drove an Uber, worked at the hotel. Everybody's an immigrant. People have, like I said, almost half the farm labor is.
I wonder where Andy Gibson stands on this issue with him being.
With farm? That's good. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I really do. I would love to ask him.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, because how many undocumented immigrants do we have working at Mississippi farms? I'm sure a lot.
Well, I know one from the Simmons Catfish Farm hit me head on, who was drunk and illegal, and when I was like 18 years old. But they deported him after that, and he was back in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we got a big agriculture industry here, so I imagine that's that's probably, you're right. That's a good question. What would I wonder what his position? I bet he's gonna have to say he's against all of them. I mean, that's what I'm thinking he's probably gonna say. But yeah, that is kind of what he represents there as secretary, right? I mean, in agriculture. So
yeah.
Commissioner, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, so that's where we are. We are now not raiding farms or hotels or stuff, places like that, because the president was lobbied and explained that we won't have anybody to work at them anymore. That's going to cause a massive problem in the U.S. So that is, if you want to look it up, there's plenty of information about the new U.S. policy on those sorts of raids. But they're still going to be deporting criminals. So you got that, Lindsay.
Yeah, they need to.
Yep. So that'll keep on happening. But also on Saturday, we had the Trump Army Parade, which we did talk about real briefly, and I thought it was pretty cool.
And again, like the planning of this did start under the Biden administration, and obviously it was Trump's birthday, but it's just kind of a coincidence that his birthday fell on the 250th anniversary of the Army. I mean, he didn't make that happen.
No, I think he did that.
So while I imagine he loved the fact that he got to celebrate it on his birthday, by the way, happy birthday, President Trump.
Yeah.
I imagine he would have wanted to make that. He's all about making things bigger and better and huge. And I think he would have done that anyway, had it been his birthday or not, don't you think?
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm sure he would. And while that was going on, we had.
And thank you, Army. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the Army.
250 years.
It's amazing. The No Kings protests were going on during this time, which were protests that were organized, as we were discussing, around the entire country, in small towns, big cities. And it was a massive, I think I read just before we went on here, that it's the largest protest in like recorded history. Like it's
bigger than the George Floyd.
Oh yeah, that's what they're saying. I mean, or at least for the United States. I think that wasn't Floyd like worldwide. There's a lot of protests. I think I don't remember that, but yeah, I think it was all protests like in Germany and Amsterdam and places during George Floyd. But I think for the United States, it's the biggest organized protest ever.
I sent Shaun a picture earlier that said, "I'll raise your no king. How about no queens?" With the picture of a drag queen. Yeah, we can get rid of those, and I'm good with it.
My favorite one is the one I sent you earlier. Like, where is it? The guy says, "Is a heavyset white guy says, it's bad when a straight white guy makes a sign." That was pretty funny.
I saw a lot of disgusting signs and behavior.
Well,
I mean, sorry, I just don't think that we should. I think it's absurd to speak of the president of the United States that way. Either who it may be.
Well, for the most part, though, with the protests of that scale, it was remarkably not really violent, except for a few incidents. I think there was something happened in Portland that got unruly. Now in Salt Lake City, there was a shooter, and that's kind of murky what happened there right now.
No one was killed, right?
Yeah, somebody was killed, but they were killed by like the good guys. What I was reading earlier. So there was a guy that I think that the details I can get so far with the Salt Lake City protest was a guy had a rifle, and the cops were yelling rifle, guy with a gun or something, and then they had like two private security guys that shot at him, and they hit an innocent bystander and killed that guy. That's the only person that died or was hit. That's what I read, but I don't know the motive or any of that kind of stuff. I'm sure the right's going to say it's a transgender guy, the left's going to say it's a Timothy McVeigh guy. We're going to read all that, but I don't know. I won't say it unless I have looked into it. I have no idea what the motive of the guy was.
My friend Hillary, who you met, she was at the parade, Trump's parade, or the Army parade, and she had an interview with the New York Times. They asked her if she thought the event was politically charged, and she said, "No, this parade is to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Army. They serve regardless of who the commander in chief is. They sacrifice everything for our country, regardless of what party you're in." And so then the interviewer said to her, they probably can't run this story.
What? Oh, really?
Yeah. Wonder why.
Yeah.
But
So,
Trump has made a statement
about
the No Kings parade.
Oh, well, what did he say?
He said a huge thank you in all caps to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned King was trying to take my place, but thanks to your tireless efforts, I am still your president. Great job, all.
Yeah, he's a funny dude. I'll give him that.
He is funny. I think he's hilarious.
But besides the Salt Lake City shooter, there was another incident in Culpeper, Virginia.
Ran through it.
Yeah, a guy in an SUV ran through the crowd, hitting one person, I believe. I don't think anybody else was injured. I don't know his motive either. Yeah, I'm sure all that'll be released. We'll see. And again, it'll go back to
maybe they were mad.
Transgender. The left will say it's too new.
Maybe they were just mad all the streets were blocked off. I know I was
No.
mad.
The cops released statement said it was intentional. I read their stuff actually on their police Facebook. They said it was intentional by whoever. Motive unclear, not disclosed at this point. So I don't know yet, but we'll find out more about that. But so other than that, I think it was like Portland. I think there was a little. I mean, there's been problems in LA, as we know. But 20,000 people showed up in LA, and
I'll tell you, Philadelphia.
Wow, that was big.
Those people showed up.
Yeah,
and I know how that is because I was in Philadelphia a few years ago.
They did.
Ooh, they protested us, but this was way bigger than when we were there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a massive. Whatever you think about it, it was a massive organization on that thing. So.
Well, I gotta give it to the king of my heart, you, because he literally performed like surgery on my feet so that I could walk through the airport.
You're saying something nice about me? Okay, I was like, taking it back for a minute.
Oh my gosh, whatever. He literally was like draining the blisters on my feet so I could walk through the airport.
Oh, in the middle of the airport, yeah. That's kind of disgusting, but whatever. I was in the Marines. I'm used to like personal foot surgery.
I mean, like the stuff shooting out of those blisters was like shooting him right in the face, and he just kept going.
I've had to perform many miracles on my feet due to a lot.
So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad
for helping me be able to walk again.
We got you home. Well, and the biggest story of the entire, I know, all right, there's been so much, is the World War III. And it is, I know Lindsay doesn't like this subject as much as I do, obviously. Not that like World War III, but in the Middle East policy.
He's just such a dork, and he knows so much history, and it's like, you can't... I don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'll give a brief rundown. I'm sure everybody knows most of it. Is that Israel attacked Iran because they've been trying to enrich uranium and get a nuclear bomb. So they launched a preemptive strike against Iran, I guess, early Friday morning, something like that. And now that's caused Iran is hitting the back, and they're hitting the back, and here we go. The whole ball game's going on. President Trump has actually been trying to negotiate the thing. And he still wants to negotiate. And this is one good thing I'm going to say about Trump that I was telling my sister this last night. She called. She's like, God bless. And she hates Trump, obviously. And she was like, I said, well, the one good thing about him, he's not a warmonger. Like, the guy is not a warmonger. And
he's saying that we are not getting involved. We are not going.
Well, I mean, the problem is, though, what I worry about is he's going to get boxed in a situation where we don't have a choice. And that's what concerns me the most. And because, I mean, if the Iranians hit, an American installation ship, something, I mean, then what do we do? That's the thing that we're back to the Middle East, like where we've been for the last 25 years, and that does really concern me on that front. But I know Trump doesn't. He is not. He is really one of those guys who's like the least warmonger president I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. Like during his first administration, John Bolton, who he wants to go to every war, tried to push him to go to Iran, and that's one of the reasons he got fired because Trump was like, I'm not doing this. Like I don't want a war with Iran. I think he still doesn't, but I do worry about him getting boxed in and where we're stuck in that kind of situation. So I hope that doesn't happen, but it's really scary time because it's an easy thing to happen. Now, also, you're also seeing competing voices on the right with this, which is very fascinating to me. So MAGA generally they've been anti-war. That's the whole thing. They don't want to go to war. Yeah. But there's portions of the Republican Party that are still neocons and want this war. And so I think you got those people fighting each other in the administration about this. I did like if you follow Tucker Carlson, right, and I do follow him too, still, even though obviously not a Republican, and Candace Owens are like the biggest critics of this. I mean, Tucker was calling out Sean Hannity and Mark Levin and Rupert Murdoch, saying these guys are all warmongers, And Candace Owens said that, like, we're Israel's bitch. That's what she said in her tweet. We're Israel's bitch. We just do it. So there's a war.
Candace Owens has really upset some Jews that in America.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she had that little kerfuffle with what's his name? Ben Shapiro, right? About the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what?
Dude, one of the greatest debates that I've ever seen was Tucker Carlson and the Turk.
Oh, Cenk Uygur. And Cenk, by the way, glad you brought him up. The Young Turks, very far left liberal, is retweeting.
He's
Tucker.
attacked us many times.
He's retweeting Tucker right now.
Interesting.
He's saying,
that was one of the best debates I've ever seen.
He said that this morning. He said, look, there's a lot of people on my side that don't like Tucker Carlson, but what he's saying here is absolutely correct. We're being pushed into a war that none of us really want. There's parts of MAGA that agree with the left on this, but they don't want this war with Iran. And that's what Tucker's saying. I mean, and so I don't know. I'm kind of with Tucker here, to be honest with you.
Look at him coming more and more of a Republican.
Well, I just feel like the Israelis are going to. That's not no. There's plenty. Look, there's a ton of Republicans that want the war with Iran. But I mean, I just think that, like, I don't want Israel. Like, I don't want Iran to have a nuclear bomb, but I don't want Israel to push us into a war where we're going to send a lot of Americans to go die again when we've just been there for 25 years. That I don't want to see. That's just something that, and that's what I'm scared to death on with this. And that's why I'm following so closely, because I feel like something. I mean, this is the way these things happen. Like, they're shooting missiles at each other every hour, and then what is the Iranians again? They hit us. I mean, Trump's going to have no. I mean, I wouldn't have a choice. I'm not blaming him. Like,
but don't we have technology that sees that kind of stuff coming and can stop it?
Well, Israel's got that dome that and it's still the missiles are getting through. Some of them they're blocking. Some of them are getting through to residential neighborhoods. Everything.
Yeah, but don't we have like better technology than anybody else?
Well, I mean, we're still have like 40,000 troops in the Middle East right now, and the Iranians could easily attack. Where they're stationed in different places throughout the Middle East. Kuwait's one of them, or a ship or whatever. And just anything they hit is going to trigger a response from us, and then that's going to trigger another response, and then this whole thing. Then we're back, deployed to the Middle East, and that's what scares me a lot. And I can see that road headed. I'm hoping President Trump is able to push the Iranians to the negotiating table, though. I know he's really trying to do that.
He's working on it. I feel like he's definitely working on it.
Yeah, you see him on True Social every minute. So it's like, okay, Iranians, let's stop this. Let's just, okay, just everybody stop. And so I think he really wants to do that. I don't know if he's going to be successful, though. We'll see. I hope he is, for all of our sakes, because this thing can get out of control.
Yeah, and that's the last thing I think that a lot of people want is to be back in a Middle East war.
Now, yeah, absolutely. So, good luck to him on the negotiating front. And, we'll see about that.
Last thing I want is a daggum draft. We talked about that, and I was like, I'm not sending my baby boys over there.
Well, for the people in the American public that are okay with the war, sometimes I'm like, hey, look, why don't we have a draft? So then everybody's got skin in the game. Sometimes I'm like, because you always hear people are like, oh yeah, war. Well, I'm always like, have you ever served? Do you want your kid to go? Oh no, I don't know. They're not going to go. I'm like, okay, well then it's okay for me.
You signed up for it. You wanted to.
Right, I did.
And I don't want my babies being drafted.
I'm not saying. I'm just talking about if we're become a culture that advocates war, then I think everybody needs to have skin in the game. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I don't advocate war.
I don't think we can sit there and constantly. Yeah, we need to go back to. We've been there for 25 years, so let's go back to the Middle East.
I am obviously a pageant girl. My answer to everything is world peace.
Right. Well, I think that's good. Yeah, but I just think for people that are warmongers, like, okay, well, let's just have a draft then. If everybody wants, wants to push us to a war, okay, that's fine. I don't feel bad. I signed up voluntarily. On my own. Okay, everybody needs to go then. If we're gonna just push war. That's what
Well, then let the people that
I'm
want
on
to push
Team Tucker here.
The people that want to push war can sign up. They can have their own draft.
But those are people that are not gonna. That's also. I think I told you this earlier. A lot of the hate that Pete Hegseth has gotten has not necessarily, it's been from the left, but there's been parts of the right, the neocons, that have been doing it to him because he is actually one of the voices of the administration that doesn't want a war with Iran. I mean, he's actually he is. So there's
maybe he's in a good position then.
There's going to be, I was watching Breaking Points earlier, and if y'all follow that, it's a really good show. It's kind of like us, left, right perspectives. And they, they're going to have like a breakdown of who in the administration is like for the war with Iran, who's against it, and that whole thing, and that's going to be kind of fascinating. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
You know what you didn't even put in your notes to talk about was the Christine Ohm event.
Oh yeah, about Alex Padilla. I don't know what I think about that yet. I feel like
I think he came in there very aggressive, and it was very unprofessional.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning with you on that way. I saw a Democratic congressman actually call him out for that.
There was no reason for him to come in there that aggressive at her.
Yeah, so
none. If he wants to ask a question, but to be lunging towards the stage she's on and to be that angry, they absolutely had every right to take him out.
I think he was he was being a bit theatrical from what I'm looking at. I agree with you. It appears to me that he was. I think you're right.
Whether you agree with it or not, you can't act that way, especially if you are a member of Congress. You are setting an example for so many others. You can't behave that way. You just can't.
But of course, like then he gets to be like, "Hey, look what I did." I mean, it's all politics, and that's what we're.
And maybe that's what we live in. Maybe that was the point of it.
It probably was. I do. Like I said, I kept watching it over and over because I wanted to see. Like everybody on the left was getting mad about this, and so I'm watching. I'm like, he's kind of acting like a dick, a little bit. I was like, I could see them saying, "Hey, we don't know who this dude is," and he wasn't. So I read right before we started doing this tonight that he wasn't wearing his member of the Senate pin, so they didn't really know. The FBI said, "Well, you didn't really know who he was."
So I mean, and after these assassination attempts on President Trump, they have to take every precaution necessary.
Yeah.
Especially at an event like this, where an appointee in President Trump's administration is standing on that stage speaking. Who knows what could happen if you don't stop it immediately?
And also, if you're a member of the Senate, and you're going to go speak to the head of Homeland Security,
why would you not?
Why don't you just announce yourself as like, "Hey, I'm Alex Padilla. I'm in the effing Senate." And she'd probably be like, "Okay, Padilla, well, you take your seat right there and ask your question." Which I would think.
I think she handled it.
Give the deference to a senator if he had done it maybe approached it that way.
She handled it as gracefully and professionally as possible. Like she did not even let it fluster her in any way whatsoever. So I think that was a good move on Christine Ohm's part.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think so. I think he was. I agree. I'm with you on this one. He's been a little theatrical on it. It was a little stupid. So
yeah.
So I mean, but like I said, I'll call it out, man. I have no problem calling my side out when I think they do something stupid. I'm still. But the one of the dumbest events from the weekends is the Minnesota shooter is a far left radical. I mean, I would get to that logic. I have not figured that one out yet.
I think it's just people
just watch the videos just watch his sermons.
I think it's just people running with misinformation.
He's like, let's burn all the gays. I mean, that's not a left wing guy. I didn't really say that, but it was like.
No, I don't think that was his point. Was more abortion, right?
No, he went after gays and transgender people too in the sermon. There's a bunch of sermons on there. It's pretty hilarious actually. It's really funny. He jumping and hooting and hollering, and he's in Africa when he's doing this too.
Was he Pentecostal?
Well, that's what I thought. Because it looked kind of like.
I didn't mean, and I'm not meaning that in a.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I'm not meaning that in an ugly or derogatory.
No, I know what you mean. That's what I thought too. I was like, he was about to start speaking in tongues or something. So I was like, is that what he's
I haven't seen it, but the way you're describing it.
I thought I sent it to you there, all those videos.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, I'll have to send it to you. It's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I mean, if this guy's a far left radical, I'm George Washington. So I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, but it was entertaining to me to run that down.
We'll have to go watch that.
Yeah, really, it's our whole political system and the way everybody is these days. And like I said, this is not my focus and my ire on the right. This is everybody. Everybody's just an idiot.
Live in a messed
That's
up
what
world.
I feel like.
It was a messed up world. We're living out idiocracy. I say that all the time.
It's like everybody calm down and just wait for the facts to come out. And then oh, okay. That's just some crazy dude on the right. And then there'll be some dude on the left. Some crazy dude. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. There's crazy people. There's a lot of crazy people.
Yeah, there's a crazy judge in Boston named Bev. So we'll see what comes out of that jury.
3 people are watching that trial.
There are lots of people watching that trial.
Yeah. Anyway, you got anything else?
No, I don't think so.
You think we fit it all in?
I don't know. I mean, it's a lot to fit in there.
Okay, well, everybody tune in to Crossing the Aisle tomorrow from 12 to 1. Lindsey will have
Starla Brown.
Yes, on and
Mississippi Director of Americans for Prosperity.
And I'm sure we will be breaking down a lot of the big, beautiful bill and, school choice and education in Mississippi. She sent me a new poll that came out with some numbers that are very concerning. I'm sure we'll talk about that. And so we will be live tomorrow on Crossing the Aisle, WWIII 103.9 from 12:07 to 1 while Shaun is in court. And then we'll also be watching very closely. I expect a verdict in the next 2 days.
We're going to have to name it the Karen Reed Show for the next week, So.
Look, this is Crossing the Aisle. You have to allow me to talk about things I care about too.
I do. You talk about the transgender stuff all the time. I don't care crap about that.
Well, you should. Don't get me into this right
yeah,
now.
I don't care about it at all.
Well, you should. You absolutely. You don't care that they are cutting off genitals of children.
No, I mean, I care about that, but
then don't go there.
Okay, the transgender hordes are taking over America. Anyway, with that,
they are. I swear they had their little voodoo pin dolls out. That's what happened to my feet.
Lindsey, we'll see y'all tomorrow.